So she's got the little baby figure here, the Christ child, and I hope none of you are terribly over Christian and very offended by this, but at the time I was very angry with what was going on, and as a mother I thought that the worst thing that you can do to something that is precious to you and that you love is to take your baby and rend it, to actually, you know, rip it to shreds. Now, in all the mythologies of all nations around the world, there are various myths, legends about gods and goddesses who tear their children apart and who eat them. It's really quite macabre, but the Greeks, I know the Greeks and the Romans best, but I know that these sort of symbols are echoed through all sorts of different cultures. So I've used that concept here as well. So the baby is to represent the social and political values of the country that she is ruling at that time, and it has been, the baby has been rendered. It's lost its limbs and it's bleeding. So for me, this is a very powerful piece, and there was a lot of thought went into it, and it was just me venting, really. As I said, it was not for public viewing. It was for me trying to get rid of what I'm doing, and that's what symbolism does. It's like writing. When you immerse yourself into some sort of work that you love and that you relate to, you become part of that work. Well, the symbols that you use in your paintings can do that for you as well. It doesn't relate to the audience, to the people that are going to look at it. If you're doing this, the symbolist work, I mean, I'm not Van Gogh, I'm not those artists, but I can't imagine that when they were painting, they did something like, oh, okay, that section of society is more likely to buy my painting if I do this. I think they were in it. They were in the moment. They were thinking about what they were doing, responding to their own internal emotions and translating symbols that applied to their own social context, but which reflected their feelings and their thinking at that time. The other thing that Robert told me to mention, because you've done it, is I use this little tile, and I still use this little tile which I make up, which is a Chinese chop. It's not that I have any Chinese or Asian heritage at all, I just like the calligraphy. And it stands for, it's art by Key Dragon, and that actually harks back to my first venture into the physical arts as opposed to writing. I worked with two other women who were interested in glass, and we called ourselves the Dragons because we were all born in the year of the dragon. I was the Key Dragon because I lived in Keys Road, believe it or not. I had a Chinese friend and her name was Ku. So her name was, she was the Ku Dragon, and then my other friend who was part of that group, she was the Sea Dragon. But we all had our own little chops, and so this is my chop, and I put my name next to it. So that's really about all I've got to say. I love symbolism. I can't really work with painting. Doesn't matter how I start. Usually as I'm going through, you know, I'm thinking something will come in from somewhere, and it's a symbol from something. Even if it's a still life and a vase of flowers, I might think, oh, okay, let's talk about indigenous plants or something like that. or weeds, or if it's a landscape, I might start thinking about the environment, or I might start thinking about how much fun I had down there, or what a good place South Australia is to be. I've lived all over Australia, so I know how lucky you are to live here. You probably don't know that yet, but you are. It's a lovely place to live. So when I look at our beautiful, relatively pristine beaches where you're not packed on the beach like a sardine, I might think about how nice it is to live in South Australia. But the thing I would say to you is you're at one of the most impressive times of your life at 15, 14, that the things you're thinking about now will really be the things that you take through your life, and you reinterpret them and reuse them in different ways. But the way your little brains are all working together and they're still plastic and forming, that what pleases you now, that the things that you relate to now will stay with you. I'm not sure whether I should say think about it when you do things or not, but yeah, by the time you're almost 70, you will look back at these years and think, these are the years that made you. So that's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Wende.